Well, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrea and I am a homeschooling mom sharing tips and ideas, resources to help you create a really thriving environment for your homeschool. Today I'm going to share with you about a book I just finished reading by Cal Newport. It's called Deep Work, and it's not a homeschool book. It's really just a productivity book for adults, but I actually found it very useful on some things that I can do to help my kids be able to focus better. I know that just having them out of the school system itself is a great benefit by not having to switch from one topic to the next, one right after the other. However, our homes can be chaotic sometimes. And so I am going to share with you some tips that I learned about how I can help my kids learn to think deeply about things and why that's so important. Now, what's especially exciting to me about these principles are how beautifully they align with the Charlotte Mason principles on education. So this book, Deep Work, and Charlotte Mason's philosophy together provide a really powerful framework for cultivating focus and building lifelong habits of attention. In Deep Work, Cal Newport writes, "If you can't learn, you can't thrive. And to thrive, you must be able to learn hard things and produce at an elite level. To learn requires intense concentration." This resonates deeply with homeschooling, where our goal isn't just to check off assignments, but to help our kids develop the ability to focus. Charlotte Mason emphasized this point too, encouraging us to have short lessons that demanded our full attention. So when we prioritize focus, we're setting our children up not just for academic success, but for lifelong growth. In the book, one of the things I thought was interesting was that it warns us about attention residue. He found these scientific studies that showed that when you switch tasks quickly before finishing one, it kind of leaves this residue in your brain that makes you not able to concentrate on the next thing. And the result is poor performance in whatever you're doing at that moment. In homeschooling, that might look like rushing from one activity to the next without giving the kids the opportunity to truly engage. What I want to focus on now is to really think about, am I letting them finish a task and complete it fully before we move on to the next thing? Also, in the book Deep Work, it talks a lot about your environment, on how important environment is to deep work. And if you're a Charlotte Mason educator, you know this is starting to sound familiar. So let's talk about how to create an environment to help your kids focus deeply. One idea is to designate a deep work zone. So it's creating a specific area in your home where deep work happens. This could be a corner of the living room, a dedicated desk, or even the kitchen table, but this space should be free of clutter and distraction. It's also important to minimize visual distraction. So kids are obviously naturally curious, so eliminating anything that might draw their attention away. So to use plain folders, plain desks to block out visual clutter, especially if multiple kids are working in the same space. Another tip is to limit noise when the deep work is happening. So if your home tends to be noisy or chattery, I would consider investing in possibly some noise canceling headphones, or even just trying to play calming background music. I have found personally that when both of my kids are trying to work in the same room, if I put on light classical music, they kind of stop jabbering with each other and their focus is drawn to their work. But even like a white noise machine might help you out. You can test some different options and see what works. I actually think noise canceling headphones might work really well. I haven't tried that out yet, but I think that that's a good idea. Another way you can create an environment of deep work is to use timers for focused work. So Charlotte Mason emphasized short lessons, and this aligns great with the ideas in deep work. So use a timer to create clear blocks of time for focus and deep work on what you're doing so that you can finish it. I will set a timer oftentimes for my son, who's 9, for 20 to 30 minutes to focus on a lesson that he's trying to accomplish. And then I let him know that after this, he's going to have a break. So if he works really hard and he focuses for 20 minutes, afterwards he will go outside and run around. Another idea to help your kids focus is to create visual cues in your home for deep work time. This could be a signal that lets everyone in the house know when it's time for focus. So you could hang a quiet time sign in the room. You can even give your kid a special hat hat to wear when they're in their deep focus work time. Just anything to show that this is the time that we're all going to be quiet and concentrate on what we're working on. And of course, you know that eliminating digital distractions is the key to being able to get your kids to focus on what they are trying to learn. If there are any devices, even if you as the parent are on your computer or phone, I would probably suggest getting off that, because I have noticed that even if I'm on my phone and my kids are working, they'll suddenly become more concerned about what I might be doing or listening or watching than what they are doing. So getting all of that out of the room while you are trying to get your kids to focus is very critical. For younger kids, like if you have toddlers who are needing to be entertained while this is happening with maybe older siblings, puzzles, art supplies, anything that encourages focus, even in the younger kids, so that they can be a part of the deep work time is really a critical piece. Another piece of the deep work book that I really found to be very insightful was that we all know that when you are in a state of just really good flow of your work and you just lose track of time, that's when you are really the happiest. Deep work isn't just about productivity and learning, it's about happiness and joy. So in the book, Cal Newport explains that deep work generates a state of flow where you're so immersed in an activity that you lose track of time. There's also a book called Flow, which shows that humans are at their best when they're deeply engaged in something challenging. And this is true for our kids as well. When we guide them into meaningful work, like solving a tough math problem or completing a creative project, they experience joy and fulfillment. And Charlotte Mason also believed that children should engage deeply with living ideas and meaningful tasks. She encouraged us to avoid busy work and instead offer rich, challenging activities that inspire curiosity and concentration. There's actually a science behind focus and skill development that also reminded me of something I had read in Charlotte Mason's book, Home Education. If we're talking about the brain, so scientists in the Talent Code believe that a layer of fatty tissue grows around neurons in your brain that act as an insulator that allows cells to fire faster and cleaner. As you get better at a skill, you develop more myelin around the neurons that are being used in the development of that skill. So that allows the corresponding circuits to fire more effortlessly and effectively. Myelin grows through focus and repetitive practice. It doesn't happen when our attention is scattered or shallow. This reminds me of Charlotte Mason's theory that thoughts form grooves in the brain. The more you focus on a particular habit or skill, the deeper that groove becomes, making it easier to follow that path in the future. And so it's incredible how both modern science and the classical education philosophy from Charlotte Mason align on this point, that if you're thinking about something deeply for a long period of time, it's easier to continue in that thought process for good or for bad. So we know that deep work is important even for children because it's just going to help them foster this habit of concentration and thinking deeply about what they are trying to learn. So how do we keep them motivated in thinking deeply and doing their deep work? Well, motivation can sometimes be a challenge, but there are some great ideas in Cal Newport's book. One is to keep a compelling scoreboard. If you're like my kids, they're very motivated by competition. So, you could put a marble in a jar for every 20 minutes of deep focus that you have. And so then the more you do that, the more marbles you get and it fills up the jar. You could have a sticker chart, just anything to visually mark their progress on how much deep focus time they're putting into something. And as it states in the book, people play differently when you are keeping score. It's just one way to help them develop this habit. Also, since we're talking about kids, I don't want you to try to take on too much all at one time. Like my kids are 6 and 9. They're not going to be spending 4 hours in deep work focus. I'm really just I've been motivated from the book to try to foster this habit of not just doing their work, but concentrating and finishing something and trying to get them as much as possible into that state of flow. One way to do this is to always just in our homeschool to focus on what is the most important, what is just wildly important for them to focus on today. So I really want to focus on the quality of the material my kids are consuming instead of the quantity of output work that they are producing at this point. Of course, ultimately, our goal is for our kids to be able to reach their full potential. And in the book, they talk about this Greek concept of achieving your full human potential. I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of it, but I believe it's eudaimonia. And Charlotte Mason also shared this vision, seeing education as a life. If we foster habits of deep focus and deep work, we're giving our kids the tools they need to thrive, not just academically, but in every area of life. So I do thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, I hope that you give it a thumbs up and share it with other homeschoolers. I love to hear the comments of how you might be incorporating the ideas presented in deep work in your homeschool. I appreciate you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.